What's going on, guys? Out here at Andrew's house, aka Drift Warehouse USA. Basically what I'm going to be doing today on this beat is our brakes. So I'm going to be changing out the brake pads. What I'm going to do is actually start in the rear. We're going to loosen up our lugs on each side of the rear, and then we're going to jack the car up so it'll be easier to get the wheel off. The main place where I like to jack the car up here is right in front of the diff. There's actually a little cross beam bar that you can actually jump or jack the diff up from. So there we go. We're just gonna jack the car up, then put some jack stands under there, and then we'll get to the next step. Alrighty guys, since now you have your wheel off, you're gonna take your brake caliper off. Your brake caliper is two 17mm bolts, one up here and one down on the bottom. Alright guys, so now basically what you do is when you get those bolts off, you may have to use like a slight hammer, and you're just going to hit like the top and the bottom edge of the actual caliper just so you can kind of slide it off. Sometimes they get stuck on there or whatever. But as you guys can see, I actually have like pretty good freaking pads on here. That's ridiculous. But I got brand new ones, so I'm going to just put the new ones on. And since I've had the car, I've kind of like kept an eye on anytime I switch my tires over and stuff. But I just want to do it just for, just for my own knowledge that I know that I've done it. So now what we're gonna do is we're gonna work on these two screws right here. So this screw and this screw, there's a clip that holds them in right here, and so basically what happens is as you turn these screws this way, it tightens this clamp and it'll kind of bend the end of it. So what you're gonna have to do is turn them obviously the other way, and once you're able to see the end, you grab a pair of pliers and you'll be able to pull it up. So I'll show you that next. So basically after you spin these, they'll strain out these ends here, and then all you do is take your pair of pliers, pull it off on one side, pull it off the other, and this is your clip. So if your set doesn't come with a new one, obviously you don't want to bend this one too much, so you want to put it off to the side, save it for later. Now basically all you got to do is since you got a little bit of rust and wear in here, it's gonna be a little hard. So what I usually do is I'll grab like a flathead on this side, put some pressure, applying it outwards towards you as you're loosening this one with the Phillips head, pulling it out towards you also. So it'll basically come off. It'll come off this metal clip here, and then the pads will actually fall out. So that's what we're gonna do next. So as you guys can see, the one on the left here is the old one, the one on the right is the new one. You can see the thickness isn't that bad, but this one actually started to get chewed up pretty much on the side here. So like I said, just ease of mind for me. So old one, new one. So now basically what you do after you get those push pins off, it's pretty simple. Once you get the push pins out, all you're gonna do is just slide it up. Slide it up, and obviously you wanna make sure that when we're doing this, that this metal piece here is gonna be facing, if this is the passenger side of the car, you want this metal piece to be in the front, but in the back of the caliper here. So it's gonna be right here, this front right corner. So that's basically when your pads wear down, that's your, like, it'll start making a screeching sound. That's what you hear, is that little metal piece making contact with the rotor. So that's in there, nice and tight like that. Then we'll take our other one, the matching piece, and then just reverse it. So this metal plate here is against the back of this, just like this. We're gonna slide it in, just like that. And then what we'll do is we'll clean up these parts now. So we're gonna clean up these push rods, push pins. We're gonna sand them down a little bit, put a little grease on them, and then the same with this, clean this up, sand it down a little bit, and then yeah, then we'll just reverse the steps. I got one of the push pins done, so as you can see, you don't really need the new hardware if you just put a little bit of time. It's been about 5 minutes that it took me to do this. So that's this one, and this is like the original one. So I've just been using this sandpaper here. It's P180. That's the grit that I'm using, and I mean it took it down perfectly. It's nice and smooth and ready to go in. So I'm just gonna do this one now, and then we'll hit this a little bit, and then we'll be good to go. All right guys, basically so after you put your push pins in, and you lubricate them, you can get basically any type of grease. You're gonna basically grease up this little lip here, this little lip, and then the push pins. You're gonna put your clip back in, and then you're good to go. The only thing that you want to make sure is that your pads are even down here. So what I would do, yep, see how that one came off the caliper a little bit, just like that. Now it's nice and even. You can try to slip it on the rotor. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. If not, I'll show you the next step for that. So I wasn't able to fit the actual rotor on, or the brake caliper onto the rotor because the pads were too thick. So what you're gonna have to do is you're gonna have to disassemble everything. You could always do this step in the beginning, so you can skip this whole entire step. The last few times that I've been able to do this, I've been able to just slip them right on with like a little work. But what I had to do is you actually have to take everything apart just as you put it back on. And what you'll do is you'll crack this bleeder here. So it's a 10 millimeter. You'll crack it open, so you'll start losing fluid a little bit. And then you'll grab an actual C-clamp. So you'll grab a C-clamp, and what you'll do is put one end here, one end on the inside, so you're gonna remove the pads, and there's the piston there. You're gonna put the C-clamp there, and you're actually gonna screw in the C-clamp until it pushes the piston all the way in, and then you'll do it on the rear. Same thing, push, put the C-clamp on, twist it, it'll close the piston, so each side will close, and then you'll put everything back on. So you'll put the pads in first, then you'll put your metal piece here, your metal bracket here, then your push pins, then your clip, and then look how wide that is now. So now it'll be able to slip right onto that rotor, no problem. So that's what I'm gonna do right now, put that back up. And then since you did that, where you're gonna, after the whole entire job, so after you do the back and the rear, I'm gonna show you guys exactly how to bleed your brakes. So basically, after I put everything back on, I put the caliper back on the rotor, tightened everything down, those two 17 millimeter bolts. What I did is before I put the wheel on, I bled the system. So how you wanna bleed the system on Z's is the furthest from the brake master and then work your way up. So the brake master on a left-hand drive is on the left-hand side. So what I did is I did the first brake job, the first brake part is on the passenger rear. So did that. What I did to bleed is I cracked the bleeder open, as I showed you guys previously. And what I did is had someone sit in there, hold the brakes as I open the bleeder. It's gonna push fluid out of the system. The brake pedal is gonna go to the floor. You have the person hold it. Once the person's holding it, you're gonna close the bleeder nipple, and then you're gonna have them pump 20 times. And then you're gonna repeat that process like 3 or 4 times until the brake pedal gets really, really hard. And then you're, like I said, put the system, that's good, everything's bolted up, put your wheel back on, tighten the lugs, and then we'll work on the next side. So now I'm gonna go to for the second part, I'm gonna go to the driver's side rear and repeat the same steps that I just did on this one. So now, basically I just did the rear driver's side. So the rear driver's side is now done. Again, it's the same steps as you're gonna do the passenger side. What you're gonna do is take the wheel off, 2 17 millimeter bolts in the back. Then you're gonna take out this clip here with a pair of pliers. Then what you're gonna do is unscrew these out. This is gonna pop off, and then you take out your brake pads, and then you use the C-clamp to push in the piston. After you crack open the bleeder nipple, you'll push in the piston this way with the C-clamp, pushing the rear piston backwards so it opens it up. Then you'll close it, and then what you'll do is you'll add the new pads, you'll lubricate this metal bracket and also your push pins, and you'll put them in, put the clamp or the clip back in, and then you're good to go. And then what you'll do is you'll hook it back up to the rotor, put the 17 millimeter bolts back in. Once it's all set up, you're gonna have someone sit with the car on accessory, and then you'll have them put their foot on the brake, push it down, and then again do the bleeding process. So you're gonna do rear passenger, rear driver, front passenger, front driver. Going from the front of the car now, what I did is I rolled up on some boards, put the jack under the front support beam, and now basically what we're gonna do is we're gonna start working on our front calipers. So what we gotta do is find these bolts back here. Again, they're right in the back right here. One's right here, and then one's down lower. So we'll go ahead, take those 2 bolts off, get this caliper off the rotor, and then I'll show you the next step. After you get those 19 millimeter bolts off, you're gonna have your front caliper here. So fronts are a little bit different, but pretty much the same thing, except for that metal clip there. So that metal piece here, you're gonna want to make sure that this like little oval half moon shape here goes in the front when we put it back on. But it has those two flathead screws there. It's got our clip in the back, so we'll take out the clip first, then we'll take out those push pins, and then this metal bracket will fall off, and then we'll take out the fronts. Alrighty guys, so after that, basically what we're gonna do is we got everything set up here. We got the new brake pads in, everything's bolted up. So now what you're gonna do to bleed them is, again, we go from the passenger rear to the driver rear to the passenger front to the driver front. Your bleeder's right here, 10 millimeter. You're gonna crack it down. It's gonna open up. As you have someone already on the pedal, holding the pedal down, that's when you crack it open. Fluid will come out. You close it, have them pump it again 20 times, and then repeat the steps 2 or 3 times. Make sure you keep on refilling up your master so you're not running out of fluid, and then we'll go to the driver's side. Alrighty guys, so repeated all the steps, same thing on the driver's side front, which is closest to the brake master. And then also what I just had, me and Jesse were just doing was we just bled my clutch also. So I felt like my clutch was a little bit spongy, wanted to get a little bit tougher. So basically all you gotta do is follow the passenger side headlight, and this is your clutch bleed here. And all you do is just have someone clutch kick a couple times, hold the clutch down, you open this valve, it'll spit out air or some fluid or whatever, and then you'll just tighten it back up, have them kick about like 10-15 times, and repeat that 3 or 4 times, and just make sure your slave or your clutch master is full, and you'll be all set. So brakes are done. So pretty easy, front and rear, and we got to bleed the system and also bleed the clutch. Alright guys, so after actually finishing up the driver's side, basically like I said, all you gotta do is just follow the same steps per caliper in the order that I did them, just so you bleed them correctly. So you just want to make sure that you buy the correct brake pads for RZs, and also the brake fluid. You're gonna definitely need brake fluid from bleeding each individual caliper. But going on from there, honestly, it's a pretty easy system, really easy to do, as long as you just follow this how-to. If you guys have any questions or comments or anything, leave them below. I'll get to them as soon as I possibly can. But like I said, it's a pretty easy DIY if you haven't actually done it to a Z. And hopefully, if you haven't done it, that this video actually helps you guys out. So that's about it. I got some good footage coming up for you guys, so just stay posted, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Remember, like, comment, subscribe. Later. Peace.